computer. Hello, everybody. Here we are again, OddCast 2. And the two Collins. I'm Colin Tansley. This is.
My name's Colin Solomon, but I thought Colin was going to introduce me as well as himself there. Of course, it's classic two Ronnies. Colin, good afternoon. How are you?
I'm good, matey. How are you?
I'm all right, and I'm ready.
Yeah.
Because last time, we agreed we'd start with a joke. So yeah. Here we go.
Go on, I'm waiting.
A compliance officer walks into a bar, says the bar. And you're going to say to me, Colin, that's not funny. And I'm going to say, neither's compliance failure.
Well, it's better than my one last week. Oh.
I wouldn't want to say that, but yes, it was.
Yes. What do you think of my background?
I like your background, and I'm glad I'm not in the plane.
Well, that's the thing. That plane I know has been serviced, so it's prevention is better than cure. So I can do all the fancy spins and everything else. And everything.
I like that idea about.
Yeah. A bit like
I know the somebody else who watches these pods, which will understand that reference. And where do you think I am, Colin?
Well, it's all blurred, but I'm going to make an educated guess and say you're in your office.
No, I'm in Blur's album Park Life, aren't I?
Oh gosh, Park Life.
Now that's enough of that, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
I want to talk about Pandora's box.
Go for it.
And I want to talk about Pandora's box because there's a couple of things happening as we go live. One is that the two men who created a business, Mossack Fonseca, who then expanded their business out of Panama into a number of other places, where they offered to incorporate companies or foundations for people who wanted those things incorporated. They're on trial in Panama.
Right. And
they're on trial because the leaking of information about the clients who used entities created by Mossacks, not necessarily administered or managed by Mossacks, that exposed Pandora led to these two individuals coming to trial. And their defense, Colin, is it's not our fault if criminals use what we provided them with for criminal activities. Now, as an ex-detective inspector, what's your reaction to it's not my fault if criminals do criminal things with the things I give?
Well, you've demoted me, but I'm fine with that. It's a long time ago. So surely there's a bit about the professional services and liability that comes into this, but it almost reminds me of when criminals steal things and they have somebody they pass it on to somebody, and that becomes the handler, and it's part of a chain of events that lead to the full course of the criminality. Now, that's just off the top of my head, but there's surely got to be an obligation upon them to take care of that information. And I also offer cybersecurity training and things like that. So from a risk point of view, that's all sensitive information, isn't it? And what have they put in place to protect that information? It's no good saying, oh, a criminal's stolen it.
Well, I'm thinking about your plane that's been fully serviced, the one crossing the Glacier Lake behind you. If a plane crashes and it's down to Boeing or Airbus or somebody else's lack of maintenance, then that's the supplier at fault, not necessarily the airline. Thinking of the 737 Maxes that did crash, which is down to the down to the manufacturer, not down to the airline. And I supply something that can be used for criminality, but can also be used for non-criminality. Am I liable? Now, there's an issue in this, which is the court of public opinion will want these two individuals, and I'll go for a euphemism, hung, drawn and quartered. They want them to be thrown to the wolves. And that's not necessarily justice. It's not necessarily fair, but it just might happen. The second link to Pandora's box, these revelations, is that she ran a Panorama program which named an individual who'd used some entities created by Mossacks, who may have been a Russian oligarch, who may also be a noteworthy donor to the Conservative Party in the UK. So if we just leave politics out of it, we've got the leak of information, the theft of information, the leak being almost two sides of the same coin, that led out of Pandora, this Panorama program. And now the individual concerned is bringing an action against Panorama to say they shouldn't have named him, they shouldn't have revealed this. And I think we're at that moment where in the courts in the UK, starting this week, we may start to find where the line is between investigative journalism in the public interest, therefore we can disclose things, and the individual's right to privacy. And I think there's a number of issues world where that's going to be explored.
That's a huge area for me in relation to when I teach investigative due diligence, because when I first started doing this, the internet was like the Wild West in terms of the availability of information. You could get all sorts of stuff. Once the data protection GDPR kicked in, it's become increasingly difficult to get certain types of information. For example, you used to be able to go to, sorry, I taught my hands.
I'm not voguing.
Yeah, you used to be able to go to get what's known as whois data about a website, and that would reveal the owner of the website, potentially their address, an email, and a telephone number sometimes. And then you can use that to great effect. Now, I completely get the privacy side of it, but what if a criminal set up a website to do some bad things? Then there's no way now from a private investigator's point of view, or a member of the public finding anything else about that website other than where it's hosted. So there is this.
As you were talking, I actually inserted into your sentence the difference between private and public investigation. Are there authorities, Colin, some of whom you might have been connected with in the past, who can pierce that ISP to know who's behind it, where it's based? Because then that's reassuring, isn't it?
To an extent, the whole sort of, you've got privacy, security, haven't you? And all this is wrapped up and anonymity. So three different terms all have a slightly different perspective. So you might want privacy in the, and I completely get that wealthy people want privacy for all sorts of reasons. You might want security. When I'm investigating, I need a level of security because I don't want to expose what I'm doing to people that don't need to know. And then you've got the anonymity thing, which criminals crave because it allows them to do certain things without being found out. So, and there are tools out there that give you anonymity. And if they are being deployed, it can be very difficult, albeit not impossible, for law enforcement or the public sector, if you're a public sector.
It's almost as if we scripted this, Colin, and I know we haven't, but that just goes to show how sometimes our brains, for what they are, align.
Yeah.
Because this morning I saw a notification on LinkedIn that the National Crime Agency, internally, its cross-system professional enablers strategy 2024-2026.
Yeah.
So the National Crime Agency are joining with other agencies and using a strategy to say we have certain information at our availability, we have certain resources at our availability, and we need to, or rather we want to identify which professionals, lawyers, accountants, are enablers to be criminally successful. And I welcome that. Yeah. I welcome that. And without them telling us what they're going to do, which means criminals can prevent their efforts, I'm glad that it's happening.
Absolutely. I mean, I worked for 30 years in the police, and partnership work is so powerful if you get it right. Because
I share that view, Colin, because I enjoy our collaboration. Because I think when people collaborate, the sum of the whole is, and I say X, you say Y. We check what our understanding of X and Y is, and lo and behold, we understand Z or Z.
Yeah.
And I've always said in my training, you don't have to know what you're suspicious of to be suspicious.
No.
If you report your suspicion, what you're doing potentially is you're putting that bright blue piece of scarred right-hand corner on the jigsaw, and somebody else has already identified a suspicion that's personal. A bit of the mountain covered in snow behind you. Somebody else is a bit of the forest. Somebody else is a bit of the lake. And before you know it, there's somebody receiving these pieces who says, I know what that is. That's the screensaver that Colin Tansley is using in the background. And lo and behold, 2 and 2 add up to a good number, the right number, a useful number.
And it goes back to the very first OddCast we did, where we talked about intelligence and information, and that little piece might be the final segment of the jigsaw that actually fills up the puzzle, and then you can further it. So absolutely.
You've used the word final there, Colin. We need to finish so that our audience, who love us, Colin, they love us. I'm hearing great things.
Right.
Don't think we've overstayed our welcome. So
absolutely.
for me, in the Ronnie Corbett spirit of life, thank you very much, Colin.
Yeah, no, thank you all very much. Thanks for listening. We are both firm believers in prevention is better than cure, and vote on the backgrounds below.
We even had on his background.
Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for that, and see you all very soon. All right. Bye-bye.